Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Louise Amoore. I'm Professor of Human Geography at Durham University and Director of the Leverhulme Centre for Algorithmic Life. I'm recording this short video to support the recruitment campaign that we currently have for our Leverhulme Centre for Algorithmic Life fellows. And we've had some wonderful emails with people, and we know there's a lot of interest out there, and I thought I'd take this opportunity just to say a little bit more about what it is that makes a postdoctoral fellowship position different in a centre, in a Leverhulme centre, and how we envisage working with you and supporting you in the development of your career alongside the kind of key interdisciplinary themes that we're exploring in our centre. So you will have seen from the advert that we're looking to recruit up to 7 fellows at grade 7 and grade 8 for in the first instance for 36 months, for 3 years. And really, I think what defines our fellowships and makes them perhaps different from other kinds of postdoctoral positions you might see is that we're funded by the Leverhulme Trust. So we have been awarded £10 million over 10 years. And this is the very start. So this is the first year of our new research centre and the kind of programmes that are built alongside. So to join us would also be to join a kind of what I hope is a very exciting, lively and thriving research environment where you will not only be developing your own strands of research, but really helping us to build the thematic programs that you will have seen are kind of really central to what we're looking to do here. So in the first instance, these fellowships will be based at Durham University in the northeast of England, but you will have seen from our website and our further details that we have partnerships with York University and Edinburgh University in the UK, with the University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and with Duke University in the United States. So you'll have seen in the advert that we have 4 thematic programs that are really driving our research questions and the activity of our overall research centre, and you'll have seen that these are described in our website as generativity, image and language, synthetic worlds, and being human. And I just want to say a little bit more about those themes. So we've had lots of really interesting questions and queries from prospective applicants, and I can see that these themes are doing what we'd hoped, which is attracting people from very different disciplines and backgrounds who feel that their research experience and their thematic interests and the plans they have for their future research align with one or more of our thematic programs. And so I thought it could be helpful to say a little bit more about that, because we don't want to limit the way that people might define the kind of connection to our research program, and we're really excited by the sorts of ideas that we see emerging. So beginning with generativity, the key point here is really to begin to open and allow for different kinds of research and strands of thought to emerge beyond the somewhat limiting idea of generative AI as something new. There's obviously a lot of hyperbole around generative AI, but we're interested in situating the idea of the generative or generativity in a longer theory, concept and practice of what the generative could mean in relation to our digital world or our algorithmic life. So we're seeing generativity as not only a kind of computer science or scientific idea, but also as a social, political, historical and cultural idea, and one in which it would really matter to think about what sorts of forms of generativity might we be seeing in contemporary machine learning, and how might that be differently reshaping human societies. And so this could involve multiple different strands, from the sort of more practical and applied kind of thinking about how models might differently be used in relation to generativity, right through to the arts and humanities and how different forms of creativity might be possible or might be in some way challenged by contemporary artificial intelligence. So we're really interested in your sense of how generativity could be expanded in our ways of thinking and doing algorithmic life. And that is not at all limited to disciplines. So we're really interested in the ideas that you have from across social sciences, humanities, and the sciences broadly defined. Image and language, of course, is absolutely crucial to how we think about human societies and to human sense making. But there's no denying that contemporary machine learning and AI are quite fundamentally transforming what image and language could mean in our contemporary world. What is the contemporary form of the image? How should we think about that in historical context? Does it matter when we're thinking about, for example, recognition technologies, what sorts of forms of image or language could be represented and recognized? Will it change how we think about ethics? Will it change about how we think about human sense making? And here we're looking for, again, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary ways of thinking about image and language, from the digital humanities right through to perhaps thinking about the human geographies of language, the kind of cultural, literary, and philosophical approaches that we might take to thinking about human transformation in relation to machine learning, images, and language. And we've had some interesting questions about synthetic worlds, actually, and what we mean by synthesis. And I'm actually really encouraged by the idea that there are very many different ways we might think about synthesis and situating our kind of contemporary moment in terms of synthetic worlds. So, of course, there's much work to be done around synthetic data sets. What happens with synthetic data sets? Does it matter that more and more of the material on the internet used to train, for example, large language models itself is algorithmically generated? So that sense of a kind of synthetic world in which it becomes more and more difficult to identify the kind of machine generated forms of synthesis. But perhaps thinking about this in a longer historical context, how does this change what we might think of in the past as simulation or different sorts of human ways of thinking about modeling or simulating society? We've had a few questions around the synthetic worlds theme in terms of digital twinning. And yes, we're really interested in the kind of more practical and applied aspects of digital twins, but we also want to think about what is this as a form of copy or facsimile or as mimesis. So how do we think about the cultural, social, literary, philosophical forms of synthesis? So again, what we're really hoping for in terms of synthetic worlds is the kind of desire to work in an interdisciplinary way and to be able to build a kind of lively set of research questions around the broader sense of our historical moment in terms of synthetic worlds. And then finally, being human. I think this is, for me, a really important question, because in so much of the kind of response to artificial intelligence agendas, we've seen the sense that, well, what we need is human forms of control, or there must be a human in the loop. And of course, in many ways, this often overlooks the question of, well, what does it now mean to be human in the context of a broader set of algorithmic forms of being and forms of life? What is the place of the human? What does it mean to be human in the context of artificial intelligence and the growth of machine learning? So in our Being Human thematic program, we are wanting to kind of really open the concept of human and humanity itself and think, well, what is this kind of form of 21st century machine learning and artificial intelligence doing in terms of a different relation to the human? We've had some questions from people who are doing or have just completed PhDs, for example, in specific areas like the kind of area of biomedicine and health, for example, asking questions around the sort of impact of algorithmic technologies on human decision making and on human futures. And absolutely, yes, we want to hear about some of the empirical work that you would want to do and some of the kinds of case studies that you might like to explore. And that's what we want to facilitate with our interdisciplinary approach. So, in short, and in response to lots of the questions that we've had, we are interested in how your research experience and your research plans speak to at least one of our thematic programs. I would advise and recommend that you focus on one, and you might make brief mention of how that relates to others. And certainly at the interview stage, we'll be asking more questions about how your particular chosen thematic program could relate to the others. But focus on one, I think, would be the advice. So just finally now, turning to some of the frequently asked questions that we've had over the Christmas break in terms of what it will actually be like to work within one of the thematic programs at Durham in the Leverhulme Centre. And we really hope that this is going to be an opportunity for you to feel like you're building something with us. So we will, of course, provide all of the usual kind of training and mentoring that you would expect. But on top of that, you'll have an enhanced kind of career development and mentoring program that we're calling the Leverhulme Centre for Algorithmic Life Pathway. So the pathway is about doing your research alongside people who are at different stages of their careers and having opportunities to be involved in collaborative writing, to co-author articles, for example, to co-organise and organise workshops and conferences, so that alongside your own research projects and programme of research, you will feel like you're contributing to and building a broader community of thought around what algorithmic life could mean ultimately. So that there should be this opportunity, which will, of course, will be matched by support. And that support is partly around mentoring and taking very seriously, as we do, the kind of mentoring of our fellows, but also the funding and financial support and resource that's necessary for you to be able to do that. So just finally, I want to encourage you to apply and to send any questions that you might have to us. You'll see our email address on our website, and you can see my personal email address also in the job advert. If there's a theme that comes through in the kind of conversations that I've had already, it's that you shouldn't allow your disciplinary background to hold you back. We're going to be ideas and curiosity driven, and that will be what drives our selection process. So please, if you're thinking, do I fit? The answer is yes, you will. We're really already a very interdisciplinary and diverse group of scholars, and we're looking to build on our existing kind of interdisciplinarity to be able to kind of really pursue our questions in new ways. So I look forward to receiving your application, and thank you for listening.